Hey there, 7th grade, and welcome to your spring Cura Personalis conference. It will be on May 27th and 28th. You will be in person and presenting at the front of the room. So make sure that you are working on focusing on this idea of presenting rather than reading. So this will be the only Edpuzzle video that walks you through out of the slides. I will send out my own example later on so that you have a good idea of what we are expecting. First thing you need to do is start right up there by renaming it. So your last name, comma, space, your first name, followed by a dash, space. Please make sure you try and do that exactly correctly. Then you want to share it with Mr. Shower and Mr. Mason at cjacademy.org. I'm not going to hit send. Now, you only have to do that one time. You don't have to hit share a whole bunch of times. What's important? Ask before Googling. Use GoGuardian. Do not just say, oh, I was working on my Cura Personalis project, and so that's why I looked up little baby or yada, yada, yada. No, ask before Googling. All right? So your first slide, you are going to start off with opening introductions and prayers. Once you have your prayer and opening introductions, you can delete the ask before Googling and actually put a image of your prayer there, or an image of what prayer is to you, whatever. If you want to put your speaker notes down here, as always, put your speaker notes in there. Next part is going to be like your locker or room wall. Again, ask before Googling. As long as you are doing that, you can delete this stuff, and you'll notice that your first, last name, 22 Cura Personalis fits there. You don't need a picture of your 7th grade self. You need a picture that what you think represents your 7th grade year right there. And then you can fill in the rest of this slide with pictures all about you. Let me give you an example. So here's my paper, right? Like I have all of these things that are of interest to me. I've got my family in the bottom left-hand corner. I got my favorite books over here. I got school. I got Notre Dame football, Tesla technology, some of my favorite foods, my favorite music, ESPN, The Office. And then here is my image of what I think 7th grade has meant to me. It's all about being perseverant, right? And this is the Rocky quote to do that. So this is going to be like your wall, right? Biggest image should be what you think 7th grade is, and then all about you all around. Put as much stuff on here as you can so that we can really get to know you, be prepared to talk about it, and obviously make sure it's school appropriate. From there, the rest of this is pretty straightforward. Who am I? You're going to come up with your creed. When I sit down on who I am, I believe my creed so far in life is. If you need an example of how to create a creed, you're going to go ahead, open up that tab down there in the speaker notes. It's going to give you an example of some creeds. I am a motivated member. I am intelligent, creative, persistent, ready to take my place in the world. My destiny is in my hands. All of these examples of kind of what your creed is and how to put it together, right? It's a motivational standard, a commitment standard of yourself, right? Then you're going to say 3 words to describe yourself and a thoughtful reason why. Don't just put funny, athletic, happy. Click on this list over here, and again in the speaker notes, and you can get a whole bunch of positive words to describe yourself in looking at these words right here, right? Powerful words to describe yourself, okay? Then, this is different from last time. We have question slides. The question slides are questions for your audience, not do you have any questions for me? I put some examples like, Mom, what's a creed that you live by? You can type out that question right there. Or teachers, are there any words you would use to describe me? Come up with some creative questions for your audience so that we can engage with your presentation as well. Hey, when you were this old, what were you thinking about, etc. All right? Then we get into the grad at grad. You're going to pick one grad at grad. I feel I excel at. Insert your grad at grad value here. So if it's loving, you're going to delete this, and you're going to type in loving, right? And then you're going to answer all these questions thoughtfully related to loving. You're going to find a quote that represents loving, and you're going to find a picture that represents you and loving together, or open to growth, or committed to doing justice. It's whatever grad at grad value that you want to do there. If you need definitions for the grad at grads, and you're like, how do I make sure that I'm really getting to the root of it? Click on that link in the bottom there and go to your grad at grad. So open to growth. Don't just pick this like demonstrates. Really get down to like what you aspire to be with open to growth, or loving, right? You aspire to accept yourself unconditionally loved by God and others. You recognize that true service to others is selfless and an act of love. Like, really get deep. Difference between a 3rd grade definition and a 7th grade definition. Again, these definitions, these pages should be used for you to research your answers to these questions for how you feel you excel at. And then on the next slide, what you feel you need to improve on. Again, insert the grad value that you need to improve on. Maybe yours is religious, right? And you're answering all these questions with religious, and you're going to like your religious slide and truly finding out what CJ means about religious and answering those questions, right? Again, a quote and then a picture that represents you. If you want to do the meme generator, there is a meme generator link there too. Then we got more questions again. Again, you can ask teachers, your family, what you think about the grads. Again, it should be interactive. Come up with creative questions like, when you were 12 years old, what did you think about religious? Or nowadays, how have you developed your understanding of what intellectual competence means? Right? Come up with good questions. 8 is looking at some advice. If you could hop in a time machine, what are 5 pieces of advice you'd give yourself? Make them good. So here's one example. This does not have to be one of your 5. But I said, make sure you set an alarm clock, pack before bed, stay organized, and get good sleep. That's just one piece of advice I gave myself, right? So come up with 5. And then what chapel lessons stuck out to you most? That's coming off to the side here. If you're like wondering, like, well, where do I find the chapel? Again, click there in the link in the speaker notes, and this will start getting populated with a whole bunch of chapel reflections. Okay, they're not all up there just yet. And lastly, what are your goals for 8th grade year? Make them SMART goals. So make them measurable, achievable, and timed. Don't rush this. Create some goals not only related to academics, but also to some SELs and the grads and your health, right? And how you're just going to develop as a young man. They can be both inside and outside of school, but they should be all-encompassing goals. And then answer these questions. What are your hopes for 8th grade year? What is something you're worried about in 8th grade year? And when people hear your name at graduation, what do you want them immediately to think about? Was he a hard worker? Was he somebody that was really kind and caring towards other people? Was he well-rounded? What do you want them to think about? Right? And that's it. Okay. So this is the only Edpuzzle video. The only other video that will be coming out will be an example of a completed one and how to present.